causes one of the most oldest diseases in human, which are the malaria. So under Plasmodium under Venus purina, the following are the most important organism or species that causes human disease. So they are the following: the Plasmodium falciparum, vivax, malariae, and ovale. Do you have any idea which among the four species causes the severe form of malaria? So, nice to know na Plasmodium knowledge was discovered in Malaysia, and it was described in humans in the Philippines. The first reported case was 2006. Actually, Plasmodium knowledge is characterized also as the zoonotic type of parasite because they are normally found in the long-tailed macaque monkeys, specifically those type of species. And as like the Imerina in the Italian lecture in Osora Caligara, Plasmodium species is the same as Imerina. They are under phylum Sporozoa, and they are also obligate intracellular parasites. So for the process of multiplication comprises of two: the sporogamy or the sexual process. So remember, the end product of sexual process is the sporozoid. And the scotogamy or the asexual process, this happens in the human, the scotogamy process, whereas the sporogamy time happens in the mosquito. And then the end product for the scotogamy is the merozoid. Medyo complex kasi ang life cycle ng Plasmodium. So it requires participation of two hosts, again, man and mosquito, where man serve as the intermediate host and support the sexual process for the sporogamy, and the mosquitoes is the definitive host for the sporogamy cycle.
No. Sorry po, wala pong microphone po. Wala po.
Ulitin pa natin. So, hindi kayo nagsasalita ka nito. Kahit na-announce naman or ulitin natin pambasa. Lahat ba kayo may manual? Kasi for the life cycle, as you can see, medyo complex yan. So, mayroon kasi siyang pagka pinalikihan niya, hindi nyo na rin masyadong clear. But my basis on this one is the manual naman. You can also check the website of CDC kasi maganda rin yung discussion ng life cycle ng Plasmodium sa CDC. You can also check that. Para siyang simpler version. This one kasi is talagang detailed. Pero ito yung pinagkuhanan ko naman din ng slides. Para hindi tayo makagulo. Pero for the examination naman, mostly I will be using also the manual. Para lang magka-idea kayo kasi pag sinek nyo yung sa CDC, maganda yung life cycle na discussion. So for the life cycle, first is the intrinsic or vertebrate phase. So this one happened the tissue or hepatic schizogomy. This one also referred as the exoerythrocytic schizogomy. First, the mosquito carries the sporozoids, the infective stages to man in its salivary gland, and the vector has the habit of spitting our first saliva prior to sucking of the blood. Ito yung first nangyayari. So ito kasi yung important dyan, yung hepatocytes or the liver cells. So the sporozoid is able to swim in plasma, but as we all know, it has a short lifespan of not more than 30 minutes. So much so, it must be able to find its host cell to survive. So then the sporozoid invades the hepatocyte or the liver cells. Remember, this is the only cell capable to be in host via entry to the von Kaplan cells. So after that, the hypnozoite is a dormant form which is present only in, remember the Plasmodium vivax and ovale. So you cannot find it in the Plasmodium falciparum and malariae. So the hypnozoite can remain dormant for more than 1 month Hence, kaya nagkakaroon ng tinatawag na subclinical manifestation or subclinical infection. Yung 4H and 5H, so sa illustration, makikita nyo sa manual, represent the development of the organism from the hypnozoid. So yung sporozoites within the hepatocytes or the liver cells adjust to the new environment and transform into a trophozoite. So it also called as the tissue or hepatic trophozoites kasi nga it came from the liver cells. Then the organism undergoes, so ito yung important din na terminology when it comes to sposogony or asexual type of multiplication of the plasmodium, the binary fission. So lumalabas lagi din yan sa exam. Resulting to plenty of chromatin dots, at which time it is in schizon or tissue or hepatic schizon. First is the hepatic trophozoite. After the binary fission, ang tawag mo sa kanila are hepatic schizon. So this grows further and each chromatin dots take a piece of the cytoplasm for its own, resulting to the mature tissue schizon stage. Importance of this one, kasi pagka check ka sa slide, it would be better na makapture mo yung plasmodium or the organism in its mature form. So yun sa usual sa mga medtech, kasi it takes din makita nila yung mga specific na stages ng plasmodium. So the individual organism is called the merozoite. So again, the end product of the sposogony or what? Sexual or asexual? Asexual is the merozoite. So yun yung importance ng binary fission. So first from the hepatocytes, the young trophozoite or the hepatic trophozoite, and then after the binary fission, hepatic schizon. So after that, merozoite will be formed. And then the host liver cell with the mature schizon enlarges and later rupture, releasing the merozoite. So yun yung makikita nyo kaya at the end of yung parang sa latter part of the manual, makikita nyo may nakalagay primary exoerythrocytic merozoites or primary EEM. While yung sa illustration, the secondary EEM, makikita nyo din doon. Pero that one, nangyayari lang siya sa Plasmodium vivax and ovale. For the falciparum and malariae, it simply have merozoites. Wala silang primary and secondary EEM. So remember the term primary exoerythrocytic merozoites and secondary exoerythrocytic merozoites. So sa dalawa lang yan organism, the vivax and the ovale. So once the merozoite already in the bloodstream, it has a short lifespan, just like the sporozoite, because they are obligate intracellular parasites. So they should be able to find the next host cells, which are the RBC. So the merozoites can invade the blood cells because, remember, only the RBC has the receptor sites for the merozoites. So important yan ha, remember the first yung sa liver, di ba yung true bone copper cells? So dito naman sa, when it comes na pagpupunta na yun sa bloodstream, RBC lang yung may receptor sites for the merozoites. That's why yung background natin, yung plasmodium kasi ang ina-attack talaga niyan is the RBC. So the plasmodium are specific on the kind of RBC that they invade, such that for the Plasmodium vivax and ovale, they prefer the RBC including reticulum, invade the young RBC including the reticulocytes, while the Plasmodium malariae prefers the old or the senescent type of RBC. For the falciparum, they infect RBC regardless of maturity. That's why we commonly see the severe form of malaria sa Plasmodium falciparum kasi nga wala naman siyang pinipiling form ng RBC. Okay? So the merozoite before entering the red cell does the following steps. So first, the primary attachment of merozoite on membrane of the RBC. Next, the reorientation so that the anterior part of the merozoite comes in close contact with the RBC membrane. Then, the junction formation, the anterior part from ionic bonds with the receptor sites on the RBC. After that, the initial entry where the merozoite slowly enters to the RBC membrane without causing any injury. And of course, lastly, the full entry of the merozoite inside the RBC. The parasite inside the host RBC is called the young trophozoite with the chromatin dot and thin ring of cytoplasm, also referred as the ring form. Mas ma-appreciate nyo yan kapag ka nag-laboratory kasi doon natin makikita yung mga different type of organism. Pero this one, yung nangyayari sa loob ng RBC, medyo important yan na detail sa yung 5 steps na yan. So after that, the growing trophozoite is when the organism still has one chromatin dot, but the cytoplasm is greater than the young trophozoite stage. The parasite, as it grows, utilizes hemoglobin for its nourishment through acid digestion, resulting to splitting of heme with iron from the globin fraction. So that's the importance of this stage. Later on, makikita natin sa manifestation ng plus ng malaria, common kasi ang anemia. So that explains ba't nagkakaroon ng anemia kapag merong malaria. So the globin serve as the food for the parasite while the heme is converted to, remember this one, the hemozoid or malarial pigment, which may begin to appear on the cytoplasm of the parasite during this stage of development. So that explains yung anemia because of this stage. So changes on the morphology, particularly the size of the host RBC may begin to occur, such that in Plasmodium vivax, the host RBC may become bigger than the non-infected ones. Sa ovale naman, magkakaroon sila ng fimbriations or become oval shape. And these changes increases as the parasite matures. So remember ha, pag sa vivax, nagiging bigger yung itsura ng RBC. Whereas for the ovale, nagkakaroon naman ng fimbriations. Whereas for the falciparum and the malariae, hindi sila nag-change ng size. So the membrane of the host RBC will also change, resulting to formation of knobs, which is referred as stippling. So medyo ito din, tandaan nyo to, the stippling din are based on the species such as, yan yung mga following ha, medyo madalas yan lumalabas sa exam. Sharpness dot sa vivax, kasi specific yung mga stippling names based on the organism. So sa James dots naman, you can find it in ovale, Siemens dots in malariae, Christopher's dots or Mauler's cleft or Garnham bodies sa Plasmodium falciparum. So stippling and pigments increase in amount as the parasite matures within the host cells. Kaya usually sa malaria, ang titinan lagi dyan yung structure ng RBC. So most of the time, doon nadi-differentiate kung ano specific na organism yung nag-cause na malaria. Don't worry, yung mga steps naman ngayon, nasa manual lahat yan. Ha? Next is the mature trophozoite. So the cytoplasm of the parasite fills up of the interior of the host RBC with a small vacuole near the single chromatin dot. For the young schizoid, the single chromatin dot in mature trophozoite state undergoes binary fission to become 2, which is true for all species. So this one, sa young schizoid. For the growing schizoid, more than 2 chromatin dots naman, but less than in the next stage of development. Also, each species has its own number of chromatin dots, each of which becomes a merozoites in this stage, such as the vivax and the ovale. For the malaria, pwedeng umabot ng 6 to 12, falciparum 18 to 24. It could also reach up to 32. After that, the host cell membrane becomes thin at the mature schizoid stage, causing rupture of the RBC, then resulting to the release of the erythrocytic merozoites which are stages that will begin another erythrocytic schizophrenic cycle. So you will encounter this one, the ES cycle. So ang meaning nun is erythrocytic schizophrenic cycle. At the end of your manual, laging may encounter yung ES cycle. So yan yung meaning nun. Pagka magkakaroon ulit ng cycle, term na doon is yung ES cycle. So each species has a particular period to complete the ES cycle. Such as, for the vivax, 48 hours, and para din sa ovale, 72 hours naman for Plasmodium malariae. And for the falciparum, sometimes 36 to 48 hours. That's why they are called tertian malaria for the vivax and ovale. Quartan malaria naman kapag Plasmodium malariae. So the erythrocytic merozoites are considered the pathogenic stage since they are the ones that cause destruction of the RBC. So after 2 or more ES cycle for all species, some of the merozoites do not become young trophozoites but instead undergo gametocytogenesis, so formation of sex cells. So macrogametocytes or the immature female sex cells and the microgametocytes or the immature male sex cells. Yan naman papasok na yung sporogony cycle or the sexual process. So, dito yan mag-start. After makomplete mo na yung ES cycle, so magta-transform yung merozoite sa young trophozoite or babalik yan papuntang liver. Yung iba naman, mag-undergo na ng gametocytogenesis or formation of sex cells. That supports the sporogony cycle. Ha? So, sa sporogony cycle, when the mosquito, saan nangyayari yung sporogony cycle? Man or mosquito? Mosquito. So remember that yung schizophrenia purely nangyayari siya sa man, specifically sa liver, and then it will go to the RBC. Whereas for the sporogony cycle, it purely happens naman sa mosquito. So when a mosquito feeds on the blood of an infected person, it sucks infected RBC, but only the gametocytes will continue to develop. So the sudden drop in the gut of the insects causes the gametocytes to undergo changes, such that the macrogametocyte and microgametocytes transforms into the following. So first is the macrogamete. Through the maturation described with movement of the chromatin to the cell membrane, produce a pole that is projected outwardly. So sa, para hindi kayo malito, so yan, kasi mukha siyang complex tignan this one. So dito lahat nangyayari yung schizophrenia. So sa man, specifically the liver cells, after producing yung mga young trophozoite, it will undergo binary fission. So nagkakaroon ng mature schizon. And then dito na nangyayari yung sa RBC. After that, yung iba magpo-form ulit ng trophozoite, babalik yan dito sa liver cell ulit. And then the other, yung sa iba naman, magpo-proceed siya sa sexual process. So this is the sexual process. Ito na yun, yung stage 2. Sa upper portion. Ito lahat is schizophrenia, this one is the sporogony. So, maload nyo na lang yan sa manual. Trinay ko kasi siyang lang yan, kaya lang nakututong. So, letter B, the microgametes through exflagellation that is described with movement of 6 to 8 of its chromatin towards the cell membrane, and each grows a flagellum or the tail. So the microgamete attaches its chromatin to the pole of the macrogamete, slide in, that will result into fertilization or the union of male and female sex cells, thus producing a zygote. So the zygote, which becomes amoeboid due to formation of pseudopodia, will result into ooconete. The ooconete is wandering or motile vertical stage. So this one, about the inside the wall of the mosquito's gut until it can find a weak point in between cells and pushes itself through causing ballooning of the outer wall of the insect's gut or hemocoel that will serve as the wall of the parasite to become naman an oocyte. So first is the formation, yung diba yung zygote, after that it will form into open it, and then after that it will form into oocyst. So after that, the parasite inside grows, undergo again binary fission, forming a spindle-shaped organism such as referred to as the sporozoid. So yan ay sporozoids, napapasok naman once na-infect niya or nakagat niya yung man. So babalik ulit siya dun sa scosogon cycle. So the sporocysts, the parasite continue to undergo binary fission until their number will resort to a ruptured sporocyst. So this ruptured sporocyst will release naman the sporozoids. So again, the sporozoids that enter the mosquito's salivary gland. So once nag-bite na naman siya sa human, mag-undergo ulit na schizogogy. So ganun, continuous lang siya. Medyo complex, pero hopefully ano-hin nyo lang, i-follow nyo yung sa schematic diagram. Tapos yun nga, you can check the CDC guidelines kasi maganda yung illustration ng life cycle. Actually, inuuna ko nila, kaya sa baka kayo tipid naman yan. So to complete the life cycle, it takes about 15 to 21 days from the time of entry of sporozoid until the parasites infect the RBC. So the incubation period, but signs and or symptoms of the infection do not appear until one month or so from the time of the person acquires the sporozoids via the vector. So that is the incubation period, usually 1 month. And during the initial ES cycle, what's again the meaning of ES? Exo-erythrocytic cycle. So the manifest and not yet observable. Ibig sabihin, di ba usually it will take how many ES cycle na matapos, kaya nagkakaroon ng pagka not yet clinically observable, ang tawag doon, subclinical infection. Meaning, kapag na-test yung tao, pwede siyang mag-positive, pero walang signs and symptoms yung patient. So, you will encounter the term kasi once na nag-GI kayo, maririnig yung subclinical infection lang. So, ibig sabihin, nandun lang siya sa test or laboratory lang yung positive, pero walang, or asymptomatic yung patient. So, most cases of malaria come with at least 4 most encountered manifestations: fever, anemia, splenomegaly, and hepatomegaly. Which among the 4 do you think would be the most consistent findings in malaria? Which among the 4 manifestation? Guess lang. Kung may nag-advance reading sa inyo ng man-man. Who sends fever? Raise your hand. Wala. Anemia. Isa. Next, splenomegaly. Hepatomegaly. Isa lang yung present sa class. Hindi ko kayo tatawagin. Pero, well, guess lang. Tingin nyo. After the discussion of the life cycle, which do you think would be the most consistent finding? Kayo. Actually, most of you will answer fever, pero hindi siya fever. Later on, malaman nyo bakit. Pero commonly sa, well, as an ENT, syempre hindi naman ako nakaka-encounter ng malaria. Walang manifestation na pang-ENT when it comes to malaria cases. Pero, based on my experience during internship and residency, mostly talaga ng presentation would be fever. Pero theoretically, hindi fever yung most consistent findings. Malaman natin. Wait lang. I-discuss natin yung clinical manifestation. So, iyan muna kayo kasi medyo nakaka-drain yung sa life cycle, di ba? Kasi masyado siya mahaba. Now, how humans acquire malaria? So, there are 4 common types. So, through the bite of the insect vector. Of course, that one would be the most common and natural way. But you can also get it through blood transfusion. Let's say, hindi maayos yung pag-screen ng blood, so you can acquire malaria. First, via placenta, why do you think you will acquire malaria through number 3? So it can happen, let's say the father is positive for malaria pala, upon birth, so via vertical transmission, pwede niya matransmit yung sa baby. So paglabas ng baby, pwede siya ma-positive. So vertical transmission, kaya siya nagkakaroon ng malaria. Pero rarely naman, ako I have not seen one. Even through blood transfusion, I have not seen one. Of course, number 1 pa din yung hormone. Through syringes, yeah, pwede siyang mangyari, but more on theoretical. Kasi, safe naman tayo gumamit ng syringes. I don't think may reported cases na ng malaria through syringes. At least here in the Philippines. So next, vectors of malaria. So, the vectors of malaria are the species of mosquitoes under genus Anopheles. So, anong difference niya sa dengue? Ano sa dengue? Anong mosquito sa dengue? What? Anong mosquito yung vector ng dengue? Aedes aegypti. So, pag sa malaria, baka magkamali kayo ha? Pag sa malaria, Anopheles. Kapag dengue, Aedes aegypti. So, the following are the species, but the most common worldwide would be the Anopheles flavirostris and Anopheles minimus. So, only the female mosquitoes can transmit the disease since they are the ones that feed on animals, including the humans, whereas the male mosquitoes feed on plant juices. So, baka magkamali pa kayo dyan, ha? Dalawa na lang yan. Female Anopheles na nagtuko, ang vector ng malaria. So, hindi ang male, ha? So, the female mosquitoes need animals' hemoglobin to produce their eggs. So, they are called the night biters kasi usually they feed at night. Around 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. Actually, sa dengue, ano sila usually? Same din hapon sila Hapon din ng, usually 4 p.m. din ang mga sa dengue, yung mga Aedes. So they breed best in slow, running, clean, shaded bodies of water, such as the rivers, streams, and lakes. That's why it's very rare that you can find malaria in the urban or the cities. Kasi ang ating mga tubig dito ay mga stagnant or dirty. Kaya hindi common ang malaria sa cities. If the speed of the water is 20 kilometers per hour, the larval forms of the mosquito will not survive. Kaya nga sila sa slow running. So, endemic places in the country. So, according to Department of Health data in 2019, still the 90% of cases, they are found in Palawan. That's why, if naka-encounter na kayo, if you're going to Palawan, some of the doctors or kung kakilala nyo, sasabihin magdala kayo ng prophylaxis for malaria. Or magdala kayo lagi ng lotion, anti-mosquito. Kasi medyo common yan sa Palawan. And then also in Sulu provinces, Occidental Mindoro, and Sultan Kudarat. It used to be include the Bicol region, Quezon City, particularly Novaliches, Rizal, in Antipolo, I think, and Montalban. But since there are no recent cases, hindi na siya sinama sa endemic places. Pero, nice to know lang, nagkaroon din sa Quezon City. Ayan na. So, for the clinical manifestation, first is the fever. So, the infected RBC, rupture waste product of the parasites, will be released along with merozoites. Again, merozoites is the end product of what cycle? What type of reproduction? Kaka-discuss lahat eh. Merozoites, end product of what? Sporogony or Scosobony? Schizophony or asexual. Kasi nga, ang merosoid, di ba, end product siya, tandaan nyo lagi yung liver. Kasi liver lagi ang unang panggagalingan. After that, they will go to the bloodstream. So, bloodstream, RBC yung pang-organ. So, sa human yan nangyayari. So, ang end product nun is merosoid. Kaya nga siya nag-manifest ng fever. Hindi ka naman mag-manifest ng fever kung sa mosquitoes nangyari nga. Diba? So, due to the released metabolic waste product acting as pyrogens, which are released together with merosoids in the mature schizoid stage. So, usually when fever happens for Plasmodium vivax and ovale, it occurs every 48 hours. For the malaria, 72 hours. That's why it's called quartant malaria. And for the falciparum, between 36 to 48. That's why they are being called the tertian malaria. 4 lang naman dyan, so madaling tandaan yung mga species. So usually, when you see patients with malaria, ito lagi yung pattern niya. Chills, fever, and then sweating. So if the fever coincides with rupture of RBC, releasing merosoids, then prior to the fever or during the chill stage, the parasites are on schizoid stage. And about an hour after the fever, after the sweating happens, the parasite will be on the young trophozoite form. So during, usually yan nasa schizoid or mature. Tapos kapag after nagpawis ka na or after the sweating, the parasite will be on the young trophozoite form. Basis on why it is much better to obtain blood samples for diagnosis an hour or so prior to expected occurrence of fever, since the parasites are on the mature schizoid stage. That's why I said earlier during the life cycle, di ba? Kapag ka nasa mature schizoid stage, doon mas maganda kumuha ng blood. Siyempre for the medtech, mas madali nilang ma-identify yung mature versus the young form. So see, fever is not a constant manifestation among patients with malaria, as well as it is not unusual to see a typical pattern inconsistent with the expected time of every 48. Kasi nga, the fever can happen, di ba, every 36 to 48 hours, or sometimes naman pagka sa Plasmodium malaria, every 72 hours. Kaya sometimes, atypical yung pattern ng fever. So for the non-typical or the atypical pattern of fever, it may occur during the early phase of infection. Pwede kasing mangyari, nagkakaroon ng mixed infection, like presence of more than one species. I have not seen one, pero syempre, pwede siyang mangyari talaga. So yun remember, fever is not a constant manifestation. That explain kaya ko kayo tinanong kanina. Kasi nga, nagkakaroon ng atypical type of, atypical pattern of fever. So again, when is the best time to check the blood? An hour or prior to the expected fever. For you to get capture the mature schizoid stage. Next is the anemia. So, Plasmodium species utilizes hemoglobin for its nutrients and development is favorable in RBC with normal hemoglobin. So, in these cases, such as the hemoglobin F as well as G6PD, sickle cell anemia, and thalassemia, kasi di ba meron silang abnormalities when it comes to hemoglobin, that's why hindi siya common. Pero hindi pa rin sila exempted to develop malaria. Pero remember, those condition na may problem sa hemoglobin, hindi siya ganun ka-common makita ang anemia, ang malaria. So iron in the heme, which is part of the malarial pigment, is not free to circulate in the blood anymore. Ano nga ulit yun? Yung malarial pigment, I mentioned it during the life cycle. Starts with H. Hemozoid. Okay, kung lang natin nakikinig. Hemozoid. So, yun yung tawag sa malarial pigment. Nag-advance reading tayo. Kasi wala rin pasok kahapon. Grabe kahapon. Wala pa namang nakapasok sa inyo kahapon. Sa school, wala pa. Kasi late na nag-ano. So let's iron that the bone marrow can be used for erythropoiesis. So the parasites also destroy infected RBC earlier than the normal lifespan of lifespan ng 121 days. This mechanism can result to the development of anemia. So anemia is more common in Plasmodium falciparum, pero pwede pa rin siyang makita dun sa other 3 species. So next is the splenomegaly. So the RBC infected with Plasmodia loses their disc shape plus the knobs formation on its membrane, thus stimulates the spleen to undergo hyperplasia. So syempre, diba, we all know, pag nag-undergo ng hyperplasia, it will end up na lalaki yung organ or the splenomegaly. So the malarial pigment hemozoid can induce hyperplasia of the spleen cells. So if severe, such as the falciparum, it causes destruction even the normal, the non-infected cells, leading to hemolysis. Pag nagkaroon ng hemolysis, pwede kang magkaroon ng hemoglobinuria or production of brown, black, or tea-colored urine. So remember this one, ha? So the black water fever, it is a syndrome described with intravascular hemolysis, hemoglobinuria, and acute renal failure. So tatlo yun. Hemolysis, hemoglobinuria, tapos acute renal failure. It was first recognized among Europeans because they are chronically exposed to falciparum. Tapos, they are irregularly taking quinine. So, dahil irregularly taking quinine, probably, they develop na ng resistance. So, pagka naging cycle pa ulit-ulit, it will result na into that pattern. O magkaroon na sila ng syndrome. So, the tea-colored urine due to massive hemoglobinuria is not limited, of course, sa Plasmodium falciparum. It can be huge and spontaneous rupture can occur also death. Kasi, ba't magkakaroon ng death? Magkakaroon ng massive internal hemorrhage. So, pagka nagkaroon ng massive internal hemorrhage, of course, diba yung volume ng blood loss mo malaki, magsashock yung pasyente, and then, mamamatay. Kasi, mahirap habulin kapag usually massive yung internal hemorrhage. Kasi yung volume ng blood loss, pag masyado ng dami, mahirap na siyang maka-recover. Sorry, yan no. This is the most consistent findings among patients suffering from malaria. So, yan yung sagot, splenomegaly. So, hindi fever, ha? So, yan naman, nice to know other symptoms. Of course, pwede kang magkaroon ng hepatomegaly kasi nga pagka nagkaroon din ng hyperplasia with the liver cells, pwede mangyari yan. Cerebral malaria, usually, pwede siyang makita with falciparum, yung cerebral malaria. Of course, shock. Pwede kang magkaroon ng shock from severe dehydration kapag nagkaroon ng massive internal hemorrhage, malaki yung volume ng blood loss, magkaka-dehydration yung pasyente, pwede kang mamatay. And then DIC, pag massive na rin hemolysis, pwede mag-result into DIC. And then, diarrhea. So again, for the clinical manifestations, tatandaan nyo, fever, anemia, tsaka splenomegaly. So next is the pathogenesis of malaria. So, dalawa lang naman yan. First is the destruction of RBC due to merozoites or the pathogenic stage. It causes rupture of the host red cells and then destruction of erythrocytes due to splenomegaly. That will lead, of course, to anemia. So, and then yung isa naman, infected RBC, it will changes the morphology, and then it will become sticky and attached to the endothelium of capillaries. It can lead to activation of coagulation mechanism. That's why, in patients with malaria, as much as possible, hindi ka gagamit ng mga anticoagulant. So after that, it can result to formation of microthrombi. that can involve any organ resulting to DIC or disseminated intravascular coagulation. And then after that, it will result to shock. And then unfortunately, it will cause death to the patient. So, malaria parasite are not easily detected by immune system because of the time they are inside the host RBC. It is only when the parasites are released that the immune system can be stimulated. But the parasite do not stay outside the host cell for more than 30 minutes kasi nga, they are obligate intracellular parasites. Kailangan nila lagi ng host para mabuhay yung parasite. So ano nga yung, saan nakikita yung quartan malaria? Which is species? Malaria. So for the quartan malaria, the parasite are slowly developing with much less parasites, produce per ES cycle, resulting to subclinical infection. That's why yung sinasabi ko, subclinical infection, commonly found siya sa quartan malaria kasi nga, nag-occur yung fever niya usually 48 to 72 hours. So in such condition, the immune system can have the chance of recognizing the antigenic structure of the parasites and later can result to antibodies formation. Being subclinical, parasite can go on with its ES cycle resulting to more production of merozoite. Ibig sabihin, kahit hindi nagmamanifest pa sa pasyente, mag-undergo siya paulit-ulit ng ES cycle. So, mahirap usually makapture yung tawag dito, yung organism. This one pala I forgot, di ba? Sabi ko sa dito, usually patients with malaria, they are not advisable to take anticoagulant. But let's say it is inevitable to take anticoagulant. Which do you, may alam ba kayong anticoagulant? May pharma na kayo diba? Which anticoagulant do you think can be given in patients with malaria? Isa lang yun. EDTA. So actually, ibig sabihin ng EDTA. So, EDTA lang ang pwedeng ibigay sa patients with malaria. Na anticoagulant. Ano EDTA? Diniscuss ko yun sa pharma. Tama. Yun na yung pwede nyo ibigay sa anticoagulant. In cases lang na it is inevitable to give anticoagulant. Malapit na. So for the diagnosis naman, still the gold standard is the blood film examination. Of course, it is easy to perform. You have to have yung thick and thin smear. And the stages of the development, makikita rin with blood film examination. Who among you are medtech? Pero nag-practice na medtech? Wala. Usually, medtech yun. So, parasites count can be done. So, for the thick blood smear, it usually at least 2 to 3 full drops, ha? And then for the thin smear, it is spread evenly on a slide so that it has a part with RBC evenly distributed. Which do you think is more para mas makikita yung parasite? Is it the use of thick or thin blood smear? Something that you think, think, sige, tingnan natin sa ano. So, the stain that will be used is the Gemsa or Wright stain. So, it can kept for several years after staining with Gemsa or Wright stain. Ayan, no? So, for the blood sample, better done with skin prick or capillary puncture than the venipuncture. Kasi nga, the infected RBC tend to stop with tiny blood vessels. So, skin prick yung better ha sa malaria. Kasi di ba normally, pag may sakit, ang lagi natin sinasabi, better nakukuha ka sa central kaysa sa skin print, pero pagka sa malaria, yan yung explanation why it is better to have it done with a skin prick rather than the venipuncture. So, best time to collect blood. As earlier, di ba, sinabi natin earlier, an hour or two prior to expected time of fever, much easier to identify the schizone, the mature schizone, kesa sa trophozoites. Ayun pala. Anticoagulant not advisable since it may change the morphology of the cells. Except, pag talagang kailangan, so, yan yung pwede nyong igamitin. So, ETA or the ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. Okay? So, how will you report naman yung blood film examination? It is done with degree of infection. So, it will enable the physician to thoroughly assess the infection. So, knowing the count of parasite, it is a good guide in knowing the severity of the infection. So, nice to know lang, other laboratory tests, serologic. So, of course, it is not easily available. Second, it is expensive. And reliability is not much. Of course, PCR is much more expensive and unable to tell the stages of development. Last is the rapid diagnostic test. So, it's only available in the US, limits application and not readily available. It can serve as screening. Di ba kahit saan nyo narinig yung rapid? Saan pa ginagamit yan? Yung mga rapid test. Yung sa COVID. Kaya ang mga rapid, they can serve as screening lang talaga. I'm not sure if it's available in the Philippines, yung rapid diagnostics. So lastly, we will go now with the treatment. So for the treatment, tatlo lang naman kasi yan. First is the tissue insecticides. So these drugs act on the primary tissue forms of the plasmodia. So they are the ones that usually used for prophylaxis. So sometimes if you're going to Palawan or some endemic places, nagpapadala ng prophylaxis. So the best example of course are the pyrimethamine and primaquine. It can also be used to prevent relapses in Plasmodium vivax and ovale. So the next group are the blood schizonicides. So these drugs naman kills the blood forms. So they are the ones that prevents the clinical attacks of malaria. So remember, the blood schizonicides are the most important drugs in anti-malarial chemotherapy. So that the following are the example. Chloroquine, drug of choice yan for Plasmodium falciparum. However, resistance have been reported. Kasi nga, marami, not only in the Philippines, in some other countries, they keep on using it, pero hindi tinatapos yung course of treatment, kaya nagkakaroon ng resistance. Sa inyo narinig yung chloroquine? Sikat yan ng pandemic. Last group naman are the gametocyticides. So this drug that destroy the sexual forms in the blood and thus can prevent transmission to the mosquito. Kasi nga, di ba, yung sexual process or the sporogony process happens in the mosquito. So the examples are the chloroquine and quinine. They use for Plasmodium vivax and malariae, but they are not effective against Plasmodium falciparum. So the primaquine act against all Plasmodium. That's why in the treatment of malaria, usually hindi lang isang group yung ginagamit. So sometimes nagamit yan, dalawang klase. Yung isa tissue is schizonticide and then we added with blood schizonticide to prevent nga yung development ng resistance. So again, dyan kung kinuha naman yung lecture, the manual, and for the life cycle, just go on with the schematic diagram. Again, you can check the CTC. Not only the life cycle, you can check their discussion about Plasmodium. Kasi maganda yung discussion din nila.